he would sit with his companions, we wouldn't be able to distinguish the Prophet ﷺ from his companions in regards to where he was sitting. Meaning that he would sit at the same level as them. It's not that he would sit on a chair and they would all sit around him. And so when people would come from outside, sometimes they wouldn't be able to know which one of the companions or who amongst the people was the Prophet ﷺ. So we said to the Prophet ﷺ, let's, make something for you so that if people come, at least if a stranger comes, then they know who you are. And the Prophet ﷺ, while he refused anything that would resemble like a throne or something that was too pompous, they said to the Prophet ﷺ, how about we make a small bench for you by just putting the dirt together, and it's like a little bench of clay. It's slightly elevated so that at least if someone was to come, they would recognize your position, right? So the Prophet ﷺ accepted that. So one day we're sitting with the Prophet ﷺ and he's sitting in a spot. And suddenly a man comes amongst us, and he is the most handsome and the most good smelling. They said he had a scent of musk that they had ever smelled. I mean, a beautiful man comes to the Prophet ﷺ in this majlis amongst the people. Now they were used to being interrupted by Bedouins, right? This man looked very different. He had a different aura to him. His clothes were exceedingly white. His hair was exceedingly black. And so he had a very, very white thobe, and it looked like no dirt ever touched his garments. On top of that, we could see no signs of safar, no signs of travel on him, but at the same time, none of us knew who he was. So it's very mysterious, right? I mean, if he's someone from far away, then his clothes should show it, and he would look like he just traveled a long journey. And if he's someone that lives in the city, then we would have known him, especially when he looks like this. So we were very taken aback by his coming. And this shows you, by the way, that Jibreel alayhi salam would not just come in the form of dihya, right? Because if it was only dihya, and if he was limited to that in any way, then that would have been the giveaway there, right? So he comes and he enters into the majlis of the Prophet ﷺ, and he stops at the edge and he says, Assalamu alayka ya Muhammad. Peace be unto you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. The Prophet ﷺ responds with salam, and he says, can I come closer to you, Ya Muhammad? And the Prophet ﷺ says, come close. He asks 3 times, can I come closer? The Prophet ﷺ says, come close, until eventually he comes right in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he is sitting directly in front of him, his knees to the knees of the Prophet ﷺ, and he puts his hands on his knees. So he's looking directly at the Prophet ﷺ, very close to him, and he says, Ya Muhammad, tell me what Islam is. أخبرني عن الإسلام. So the Prophet ﷺ says what Islam is. He says Islam means to worship Allah and not associate anything with Him in that worship, to establish Salah, to establish the Zakah, to fast the month of Ramadan, and to perform the Hajj when you are able to do so. And he then says, Sadaqt, you've told the truth. And so the Sahaba say, Ajibna minhu, yas'aluhu wa yusaddiquhu. Like, we were confused by that because he asked the Prophet ﷺ the question, and then he was the one that said, you have spoken the truth, as if he's quizzing him, as if he is testing him. So we found that odd as well. Then he says, tell me about Iman, tell me about faith. So the Prophet ﷺ says, to believe in Allah, to believe in the angels, to believe in the books, to believe in the prophets, to believe in the Day of Judgment, to believe in divine decree.